Welcome back. We're here with Adam Smith. We're going to be bringing him on stage here in just one moment. But thanks again for participating in our quiz. And this is our third day of the Cloudways Prepathon. And we're just rocking and rolling here with so much great content around AI and innovation. And it's my pleasure to bring Adam Smith to our stage. He's co-founder of Make Lemonade. He specializes in scaling website content operations with artificial intelligence. As part of this full service SEO agency, he helps affiliate marketers boost both traffic and revenues. Two things that we love to hear at the Prepathon. So we're going to be tuning in for Adam. I'm like, dude, I'm so pumped to be learning from you today. I know our audience is. Let's give Adam Smith a warm welcome here to our Prepathon stage. Really excited to learn from you, man.
Thanks, Brent. Thanks for having me. It's going to be good.
All right, we should be able to bring your content out here on the stage if we have that.
I think I'm going to share my screen, I believe, because I haven't sent anything over. So should I just share and get into it?
Let's just get into it, man. I think I'm seeing you're getting Taylor Swift emojis in chat. That tells me that we're on the right track. We're doing something good. So I think the folks are ready to hear what you have to say about this.
Amazing. So yeah, tell me if you can see my screen. Do I need to zoom in a bit, or is that okay just like that?
If you want to go full screen on the slides, that'd be amazing, but up to your style, man.
How do I even do that? On
the little drop down next to slideshow. There you go. Now
Perfect.
It's a little bit on
worse?
It's a little bit on the small side, so maybe we'll go back. I think it's okay.
I've got one of those fancy, like really stretched screens, so I don't know. We'll just stick with this.
We'll stick with this. I think we're good.
Cool. Awesome. And Rodrigo in the chat has just said, "Mic up, dude." Is that me? Can you guys hear me okay?
We're hearing you loud and clear. I think they're ready for you.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So thanks for having me. Obviously, my name's Adam Smith. I'm the founder of an agency called The Content Machine. And previously, I ran another agency, like Brent mentioned, called Make Lemonade. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about how you can scale your content production via AI. And I'm going to start really by kind of giving you an introduction to myself and really why I think I'm kind of qualified to talk to you about this, because I've got years of experience with content, running a content-based agency, and now transitioning into AI. And I'm conscious that I wanted today's presentation to be very value-orientated. So if you've got a pen and paper, or if you want to, I don't know if you can record this, or you guys are going to make these recordings available, but I actually share some of my prompts, some snippets of my prompts, some full-on prompts that you can take away and start using for your own content production. So these are the things I'm going to cover today. How I got started with content, because obviously when I got started with content, AI definitely wasn't a thing. They were still doing spinning, like text spinning and that kind of stuff. How I made my move into AI, which is an interesting story all in itself. I was kind of pushed into the world of AI content creation. And then I'm going to talk about prompt engineering, and then run through what that looks like on how I create a piece of content. And when I talk about a piece of content today, I'm referring to a kind of like a blog style piece of content for a website that's there to essentially rank on Google and bring you organic traffic, and then eventually turn into revenue, be that through affiliate marketing or through display ads, or however you monetize your content. And then I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things that I think you should be doing post-production of content with AI, because AI is a big building block and a big cornerstone for content creation, but I don't think it's everything. I still think there needs to be a human in the loop post-production, so what that looks like. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some advanced techniques. Two of those, one is self-iteration loops for content creation, and the other one is a little tip on how to use AI in a way that mimics your tone of voice or your style or your company or your brand persona, essentially, so you don't get that kind of robotic feel that you get out of the box with AI content. So a little bit on how I started just with content in general. So pre-2018, I was working in a lot of digital marketing agencies. And in my kind of, well, I started out really in working for an ad network. And then from there, I transitioned into a traditional digital marketing agency. And I was helping universities here in the UK essentially attract students, and the whole life cycle of a student is or a student that's contemplating going to university is very long. It's a long journey, so you had to plan out lots of different styles of content around different times of the year with different audiences in mind. So you might have to influence the parents, for example, and the teachers and the students themselves and their friends, all to, over the course of 12 months, all to get them to want to pick the university that you are promoting. And while I was working at the agency there, I heard of a little website called Empire Flippers. I'm sure many of you have heard of it. Back in the day, it was called AdSense Flippers, but it's a marketplace where you can buy and sell websites, and in particular, content-based websites. And I had some money saved up. I went on there. I saw a website for sale in the smoking and barbecue space. I know nothing about that space because we don't even have smokers here in the UK. It was making around $300 a month from Amazon, recommending products on Amazon. And it was up for sale for around, I think it was just over $10,000. So I plunged all my savings into buying this website and bought the website. And then for the next 8 months, I poured my heart and soul into learning everything I could about barbecues and smoker machines. I was in Facebook groups, I was reviewing content, and then I learned essentially how to craft content that ranks on Google by trial and error, and by looking at what other websites are doing, what needs to be included, how I can outrank competitors. And I did that for 8 months whilst working my full-time job on the weekends and on the evenings, And so fast forward 8 months, someone approached me out of the blue, an email, and said, "Would you like to sell this website?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. Like, what's the deal?" Thinking, is this even a real thing? And he said, "Yeah, send me over the financials." And we agreed on a price of $59,000. So in the space of 8 months, I turned this website that I bought for 10 into $60,000, and I was over the moon. I went into work the very next day and I said to my boss, "Hey, I need to do more of this," because they knew I was doing this kind of thing anyway. "How can I drop down to 3 days a week, and I want to do this 2 days?" And she said, "Nope, that's not how you do it. You're very front facing in the company to these websites, to these universities. You have to stay." So I went back in the next day with my resignation and quit the very next day, fresh with my $60,000. And I bought another content website from Empire Flippers the very next day in the golf space. And I spent time building that one up. And over the course of 2018 to 2020, I continued this process of buying websites, improving the content, getting them to rank on Google and flipping them, until essentially by the end of 2020, I had a portfolio of 10 plus content websites. And that was then where I met my business partner, where we founded our agency together. I was on a podcast talking about how I was finding it frustrating to find full-time writers and freelancers and that kind of stuff. He was having the same issues. We got together and created our own team, and then very quickly realized that other people could use this. So we systemized the production of content to the point where it was a productized service. We had a keyword research team and a content production team and a post-editing team and a formatting and uploading team, and the agency was born. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened to that agency just back a couple of months ago. And today I'm now the founder of The Content Machine, which is a very similar business model, but rather than using human content, it's fully AI-based content. So when I mentioned at the start, my move into the world of AI was kind of pushed and forced. This is why. So my last agency, which was human written content, our core audience were niche website owners, very interested in the bottom line ROI, very price sensitive to the price of content. So we had to price it competitively. And that agency grew very quickly. So in our first year, we did £1 million worth of revenue, and then 3.2 and 4.5, and things were looking amazing. We're like, this is great. We've got looking at a big exit on our hands. The company was 4 years old. We had over 100 employees, almost 60 of those being full-time content writers, and 70% of that revenue came from content. However, earlier this year, ChatGPT 4 was released, and things went south. Of that 70% revenue from content, by the time we went into administration in July, that had dropped 80% because we were targeting a very price sensitive industry, and a lot of our customers were switching to AI content in their drones because they could see it working. So that business kind of failed, but out of that business came me starting again with the Content Machine, which, like I said, is essentially the same type of business model. I help website owners and other agencies scale their content production with AI. It's 3 months old. We've been in a beta period using this AI methodology that I'm going to explain to you today. We've now created over 1,700 articles for clients. That's across 35 happy clients, and we're officially going to launch soon. So that's kind of how I was pushed into the world of AI and started an agency based in AI content. So now we get into the kind of the meat of things, and we start talking about actually creating content with AI and what that looks like. And it all starts essentially with prompt engineering. You may or may not have heard of the term. I asked ChatGPT to give us a definition of what prompt engineering is. And in essence, it's essentially giving instructions to, giving different types of instructions to AI, be that ChatGPT or Claude or whatever kind of model that you are using, in order to get something specific out. So you have to give it something very specific in to get something specific out. And the more you can engineer that prompt and refine those prompts, typically the better results you're going to get. You've probably heard the saying, rubbish in, rubbish out. It's very much the same with AI. If your prompts are poor, then the output is going to be poor as well. So what makes a good prompt? And the best way I can describe about what makes a good prompt essentially is it's identical to the instructions that you would give a brand new employee. So someone joins the business tomorrow, they have no idea what you do, how you do it, what your process is, what you're trying to achieve, and you've got to explain everything from scratch. So it should contain things like the context, the goal, the guidelines, any best practices or examples, and kind of what the format that you want the AI to produce for you. Without those things, and if you don't provide all of those things, you run the risk of the AI kind of going off on its own, thinking about, oh, well, do they want this? Do they want that? And they've got their own brain, essentially. It feels like that sometimes. They go array, and you sometimes just get absolute rubbish out. So when we think about how we craft the prompt, you've got to think about what are the instructions, what are the guidelines, and how can I make that robust? So when I repeat this prompt over and over, the output that I get is the one that I desire, and two, it's repeatable and it's scalable, and I can give it the same prompt and get the same quality of content out, the same tone of voice out, the same everything out each and every time, so it becomes reliable. Otherwise, you're just going to spend your time spinning your wheels trying to craft new prompts for different things all the time. So an example of a bad prompt is literally, give me a 1,500 word blog post on how to groom a poodle. That for me, terrible prompt. You have no idea what you're going to get. You've given the AI no context into what you're trying to achieve. Is are you writing this piece of content for a dog groomer and they're trying to attract customers? Are you trying to sell dog grooming products? Is this purely an informational piece of content and you're trying to get to the top of Google and monetize with display ads? Like, there's no context on there. There's no context around, what the structure should look like, what the formatting should look like, what information you should or shouldn't be included. You're literally just leaving it to chance. And in all honesty, 99% of the time, you are going to get absolute rubbish from this kind of prompt. So this is an example of a bad prompt. And this is an example of a good prompt. And I don't know if I should maybe zoom in a little bit on this, because I think guys said they were having a little bit of trouble there, but don't know if that's...
Yeah, you know what, Adam, if you want to just, I could probably help in the background on this. If you just share the deck with me real quick. Sure, I know we're going to kind of interrupt you, but we're getting into some detailed slides. So just put Brent at UGURUS.com in there, and I will take care of it, and I'll load it up as a full presentation just within the platform. But it'll take me like 60 seconds from once you share it with me, if that's cool.
Brent, I've just shared it in the chat, on the backstage chat with you as a link there.
Yep. You're a legend, man. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be good, because there's some more coming up, and it would be good if it was full screen.
Yep, we got you, man. it might take a second if you want to start talking through this prompt, and then we'll replace
Sure.
it.
Okay. So this is an example, I think, of a good prompt. And essentially, you start by setting the tone and setting the context. So you're an expert content writer that specializes in creating highly engaging blog content that readers enjoy and want to consume. So you were giving it the context of the role that you wish the AI to play to start with. And next, you're going to give it the instructions around what it's going to create. So you're going to create a piece of content titled How to Groom a Poodle, section by section with my help. Now, you'll notice it says section by section there, and I'll come on to why that's important and how I'm the structure and the journey I use to create the content section by section in a bit. But that bit is important, I think, when using AI to create content. And then you start getting into the actual guidelines and the instructions themselves. So step one, and in my guide or my prompts for creating a piece of content, there's 7 different steps. This is part of step 1. It says, read the following instructions, understand them, and store them in your memory as writing guidelines, which we'll use later on. The writing guidelines. So the content should be simple to understand, adopt an active writing tone, and embrace contradictions. The content should captivate the audience's attention, leave out unnecessary details, and include entity credentials. And basically, you give it the instructions that you want to give it to ensure that it gives you quality content. And this comes from research, and this comes from essentially years of training other content writers. So when you are training someone up, you might say to them, "Oh, include examples, tips, and analogies within your content when you create it." So it's the same type of instructions that you would give to this AI here. In mine, I like to avoid formal conclusions because we're creating it section by section. If you've ever used, I'll stop sharing that. Cool. If you've ever used AI, you know that it loves to give a summary or a conclusion wherever it can. So I always try and get it to stop providing that formal conclusion wherever it can. And then also, this is just my preference. I don't want it to add any text below the H2 headings. And you'll see it when I show you some examples of content that I've created in this format, what that looks like. But this is the writing guidelines here go on in my full prompts for a lot more steps. But this is an example of what a good prompt versus a bad prompt looks like. So if you go on to the next slide for me there, Brent. You
should be able. You can just click on the next there.
Okay,
I can do it for you there, but there we go. Oh, I think we went too forward. You drive.
Awesome. So now that we know what a prompt is and prompt engineering, and now we know what a bad prompt is and the foundations for a good prompt, now I want to talk to you a little bit about something called prompt chaining, which is, in my opinion, one of the most powerful ways that you can use AI, especially when you are creating content. So in its most basic form, prompt chaining basically means you are taking, giving the AI an input to start with specific instructions, and then you are taking the output from that prompt and you're putting it back in again with another set of instructions. So in this case, you'll see in a second, I've got kind of 3 instructions, but you might want to give it some initial context, get it to produce something for you, push it back in and ask it to transform that into something else with another set of instructions, and so on and so forth. And if you can do this prompt chaining over and over, you don't have to make a mega prompt, because you will definitely have different instructions for creating an introduction than you would with the body of the content, but you still need the body of the content to give meaning to the introduction. So what that looks like is, oh, Brent, I can't press next now because there we go. So what that looks like, I'm putting it all together to create an article, this is what my 3-step process is. I use the AI to create an article outline to start with, and I've got a very specific set of prompts to create the article outline. I'll then take that article outline and then section by section, I'll feed it back into the AI with a set of instructions on the writing, the tone of voice, the style guide, the formatting for the actual body of the content. And then once that's done and I've got the full body, I'll take that body of text and put it back in with another set of instructions and create the introduction and the conclusion. Otherwise, there's no way you could make a mega prompt that says, create the outline. Once you've done, create it section by section, and then once you've done, take that and then create the introduction and conclusion. It just doesn't work like that. One, you probably run out of, the token window probably isn't large enough, and two, the longer your prompts get, the harder it is for it to follow instructions. If you've ever created any kind of long prompt, you would probably see that you have to either shorten it sometimes or reiterate closer to the bottom the most important things within the prompt. Otherwise, there's a chance that it doesn't follow correctly. So before I show you what an outline looks like, we'll talk a little bit about what makes a good outline, because in order to give the context and create the prompt for making an outline, you've got to understand, well, what's the end goal? What does a good outline look like? So the first thing really, and the most important thing, is it matches the search intent. So if you've got a keyword and say it's, you put it into Google, the easiest way to check is put the keyword into Google and have a look what's ranking number one. If you put a keyword into Google and it's full of e-commerce results, and you are trying to create an informational piece of content, chances are it's not going to rank very well on Google, and it's not going to drive you much organic traffic, because Google isn't expecting an informational piece of content. They're expecting an e-commerce page or a product page. Similar, if you put in, these days, most how-to type of keywords, the top of the search results are filled with YouTube videos. Google knows that people want to watch video, and they're probably not going to sit there and read a 2,000-word how-to guide on how to fix a leaking tap. They're going to show you a video instead. So again, that just tells you that you don't want to create that style of content for that keyword. And then another one might be, if you are trying to sell cookware products and you Google the keyword you want to create the content for, and all that's coming up is, recipe carousels and recipe images and videos, the chances of Google showing your affiliate piece of content around trying to sell a product is very low. So the first things first, you've got to make sure that you understand, are you creating the right type of content for the right keyword? Once you understand that and you've got that kind of nailed in, you need to make sure that the topic or the outline, and I call it outline, some people call it a content brief, it's the same thing, that it covers the topic fully. And I'm guilty of this. Back in the day, we used to pick the top competitor on Google. We would look at what they cover in their article, and we only had to make ours slightly better in order typically to outrank them, assuming you've got good technical SEO and you've got a good backlink strategy. These days, it's so unpredictable with Google updates. There's literally 2 rolling out simultaneously right now, and that's off the back of one last month. The results change monthly, essentially. So what you have to do now is you have to go and look at the top 5 or top 10 competitors. And doing that manually is a ball ache. You have to open each of them up. Typically, you would make a note of all the headings, the H2s, the H3s, the topics they cover. You'd put it all into a spreadsheet or a big Google document. You'd have to get rid of all the duplicates. Then you'd have to sort it out into a logical format and a logical order that the reader would understand. You still do that, but now you get AI to do that for you. ChatGPT connects via Bing, or you could use a plugin. You don't have to go and do that manually anymore. But what you want to make sure the outline covers is it covers all the topics that at least those 5 or 10 competitors cover. So you've got a very robust and broad set of topics that it covers. You also need to make sure that it's SEO optimized in terms of structure. So it has the correct headings, it's got the correct format, it's in the right order. Typically, most content start with a small introduction, then it's structured hierarchically, H2, H3s, H4, back to H2. And that also allows you to add in important keywords within those H tags. If you think of the way Google works, they come to your website as a bot. They don't read the content, they scan the code. And if they see a H2 tag or a H3 tag, that's more important to them than what's in the body tag, for example, and they give more weight into that. So by structuring your content that it has the correct headings, and the correct headings have the correct keywords in, it's just another one of those small signals to Google that this content's been optimized, and Google can understand what it's trying to rank for and give you the best chance of bringing organic traffic. And then the last thing, and this, then you think about this from the point of how would you brief a traditional human writer? You need to give them all the required information. They still need to go away and do their own research, but you need to give them the headings. You'll need to give them, as we move more towards, semantic type SEO, and we talk about entities and things like that, and we move away from keywords, you give them the entities to include. You obviously give them the keywords to include if you want. Maybe you give them LSI type keywords. You might include a description for each of the H2 and H3 tags so they understand what should be included there. They don't go off on a tangent and cover something that maybe you weren't meant to. So when you think about a brief, it should provide all of the required instructions and information that when it comes back to you, it covers exactly what you were hoping it would cover. And it's not, oh my God, what is this? This is not what I wanted to cover. And a good example of that was, I saw recently, I saw an AI piece of content on a fireworks website. So they were trying to sell fireworks, and the content was very negative on fireworks, talking a lot about noise pollution and how it's bad for the environment. And I think this is not going to help them sell fireworks. So they've obviously not got that kind of outline briefing element right there. So in my mind, these are the four kind of key things that make a good outline. So how do you achieve this? How do you achieve these four things with ChatGPT? So you'll see I've got text here in quotation marks. These are literally snippets from my prompt. So provide the context. In order to provide the context when I'm creating my outline, I ask the AI to act as a semantic SEO expert that's specialized in creating optimized article outlines for search engine performance and reader engagement. And then I start giving it instructions. So create an article outline for the provided keyword, ensure the outline covers topical authority, SEO optimization, reader engagement, comprehensiveness, effectiveness, and efficiency. It should have at least 15 headings, excluding the introduction and conclusion. So I'm already now starting to craft the framework that I want it to act as in this role as semantic SEO expert. And then I build on that framework and I give it some guidelines. And I say, use Google and compare the topics against the outline you've created. And then 1, add anything additional that the outline is missing. 2, remove anything that's not hyper related to the primary topic, because it goes away sometimes. If you build an outline based on its own knowledge without using Google to start with, there's no guarantee that it's, if we're doing an article about how to groom your poodle, that it doesn't include something about a different breed in there, because it connects the two, and you don't want that in there. It kind of takes away. So remove any sections that are not hyper related. And then sometimes you may want to give, or the client or the brief might include sections that have to be in there. So keep those in there no matter what. And then the other element that you need to give it is providing the formatting. So what do I want this outline to look like? So in my case, I want them to turn this outline then into an SEO-friendly outline made up of H2 headings, which cover the core topics, and H3 headings, which break the core topics into manageable subtopics. Make sure you cover all of the topics that are included, because it has, if you don't specifically tell it, think of it as a child. If you don't specifically tell it, it won't do it. So make sure you cover all of the topics that are included above. And then each H2 should have a minimum of 3 H3 headings that break the section up into logical sections. So when I want this formatted and when I want it back from it, I want H2 tag, and then I want H3 tags, which break up that section. And kind of like I said, it goes back to SEO formatting. I've now got within each H2 section the ability to have keyword-rich H2 tag and at least 3 keyword-rich H3 headings within there as well. So let's look at an example. If I share my screen now, Brent, can this come off again?
It should be. Our backstage team might need to assist. Just go ahead and share your screen, and we can swap that out. Oh, that's cool. All the way. I wanted to just pin. Not sure how we can pin that guy. Team, I don't have the ability to pin his screen share. So, there we go. We're just going to do full screen on the document.
So this is an example for a keyword. The keyword is, what's the ROI of a new website for your local business in 2023? And given that context and the guidelines and the instructions and the formatting that I just showed you there, this is an example of what the output from an AI can give you without any human interaction apart from just those prompts. So this was no human research. This was just using ChatGPT's own inbuilt knowledge plus Bing to connect to the internet to go and look at what the top 5 websites were covering, update the outline to ensure that it covers at least everything they're covering, remove anything that is not relevant, and then essentially make it in a structure that makes sense. So if we look at what that is. So we've obviously got the introduction, that's kind of a given. We've got a description that says what should be included in the introduction to the importance of having a website for local business, the transition to digital platforms, and the objective of evaluating ROIs for a new website. It's kind of a given. The entities to use are local businesses, digital platforms, and ROI. So I won't go into kind of entities and knowledge graphs and how they're connected together, but when you create the content, it's important these days. Google are moving away from just using keywords to entities and how they're connected together. It's important to include these entities, these words essentially naturally within the content. Similar to how you would typically include keywords, it's important to include the entities. There's a list of LSI keywords to include as well, which basically are keywords that are similar to the ones that should be included, and then keyword variants to use also. So if you were to give this brief to a human writer, they would know exactly what needs to be covered within the description. They would know what entities need to be included, and a list of keywords that they should try and naturally include within that content. And then if we have a look at the actual rest of the content, then to think, is this a good brief? So let me know in the comments. Do you think this is a good brief? Does this cover the topic of what's the ROI of a new website in 2023? Is this good or not? So first thing is understanding ROI. So before you know or understand what an ROI of a website is, you should probably understand what ROI, return on investment, actually is. So definition and significance of ROI, how you calculate it, and then impact of digital transformation. And you can see it's got description and entities and keywords to use for each section. We then talk about investments in a new website. So how much does it cost, the initial costs, any ongoing costs, and then the average cost of a website. Then we talk about the benefits of having a modern website, because you can't talk about the return on investment without talking about the benefits first. So enhanced online visibility, building brand credibility, and facilitating online transactions. And then we start talking about the meat then. So how do you measure the ROI of a new website? Tracking website traffic, calculating conversion rates, evaluating customer lifetime value, the factors that influence website ROI. So web design and user experience are an influence, SEO and online marketing strategies, and local SEO significance. Web design strategies for improving your ROI. So if you're not going to make a new website, can you redesign your current website? And what does that look like in terms of SEO friendliness, mobile friendliness, updating your web content, and call to action implementation. Then some statistics, so website ROI statistics, percentage of businesses with a website, consumer behavior towards online businesses, and industry-wide ROI stats. And then tools and resources for measuring website ROI. So now you know what you're looking for in terms of ROI. How do you measure it? Google Analytics, ROI calculators, improving your, just those two. And then we've got how to improve your website ROI through optimization SEO, digital marketing strategies, customer feedback, the website lifespan and ROI. So how long does a website last, and understanding the lifespan, the impact of longer lifespans on ROI, rebranding and ROI. And then we've got some local SEO strategies to maximize ROI, challenges in improving website ROI, how you predict a website ROI before you even get started, and then the conclusion. So it's a fairly robust outline that covers pretty much anything that you would need to know about ROI for a local business if you were thinking about investing or redesigning your new business. So now you have the outline. That's what that outline looks like. Now you've got to take that, and this is where that prompt chain, you've got the outline. You now need to feed that back in to create the content. So what does that look like? And again, it's the same kind of 4 key pillars: context, instructions, guidelines, and formatting. So providing the context, this time you're now going to act like an SEO content writer that specializes in creating highly engaging blog content that readers enjoy and want to consume. You're going to create an SEO-friendly blog titled How to Groom a Poodle, or in this case, How to Measure Your Website ROI. And then you're going to provide the instructions. So you should make the writing simple to understand. You shouldn't use complex and run-on sentences. Avoid complex or exotic words. Should sound like an expert in the topic created the content without specifically saying that you're an expert. And it shouldn't sound robotic. And basically, again, these are just, you can add and subtract to these, and you can make it specific to the type of content you are creating. You could say, instead, it shouldn't sound robotic like an AI created it, you could say it should sound like someone who's passionate about dogs and has owned a beagle for the last 5 years created it. And the more you can make it specific for each piece of content, usually the better the results will be. And then we've also got the guidelines. This one is important for the content. There's lots of different types of frameworks that you can use. They're established frameworks. When I create this type of blog content, I like to use the mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive framework. It basically says exhaust every avenue for each of the headings. I use a different framework, and I'll show you in a second for the introduction. I like to use the problem, agitate, solution framework for the introduction. But this is not something I made up. These frameworks, these are generally well-known writing style frameworks. So just Google different types of writing frameworks. Usually there's different types for different types of content. Find one that you like. Usually ChatGPT with its knowledge, or Claude with its knowledge, will already know what that is. But in this case, I've also included a link to say, if you need it, here's an outline of what MECE guidelines are. And then again, provide the formatting. So when I have the content back, I want it provided in Markdown format, so it's easy to copy and paste. I want the H2 headings to be H2 format. I want the H3 headings to be H3 format. I want you to break it up into small paragraphs so it's easier to read. I want it to be UK English, spelling, terminology, and slang, and so on and so forth. So and then you would put each section, each H2, H3, 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 into ChatGPT with all these guidelines section by section, and build up the full body of the article. And essentially that's how you would then create the content based on that prompt training. This is my exact prompt for creating an introduction. And again, like I said, I use the PAS methodology for this. So the problem, agitate, solution. And in this case, we are looking for the AI to create a short 80-word introduction that clearly states the topic, highlights the problem that we're trying to solve, agitates it a little bit, so it gets the reader a little bit worked up, and then promises the solution within the content. It just hooks them into read it. So you can literally take the article that you've just created, the body of the article there, you would give it this prompt. Where it's got the X at the bottom, you would paste in that article, and this will then give you a lovely introduction that covers all the points that you are covering in that PAS framework, essentially, that hooks the reader in. And usually it will say, if it's, well, we'll have a look at what the PAS was for ROI of a new website in a second, but that's the exact prompt that I use for creating the introduction. And this is the exact prompt I use for creating the conclusion. So you'll notice I use a prompt for creating the outline. I then use several prompts for creating each section of the body. I use a different prompt for the introduction, a different prompt for the conclusion, a different prompt for the meta description. This is where I mean by that prompt chaining comes in, and you can't just do it all with one prompt. So I won't read this out. It's very much similar to the guidelines and the instructions on the other pieces. So just take this, it's over 2 pages. These are the guidelines for creating the conclusion. And let's look at a quick example. So taking all of that, this is what the AI then produced based on that outline that we just saw in terms of ROI of a new website. So wondering what the ROI of a new website will be for your local business in 2023. That's the problem. That's the problem they're trying to solve. With consumers increasingly searching online, an effective website is now indispensable for reaching and converting customers. That's the kind of the agitation a little bit. It now provides the solution, essentially. So this guide examines current data on website costs, ROI statistics by industry, proven strategies to maximize return through tracking metrics, optimizing SEO and user experience, digital marketing, and continually improving based on customer insights. So it tells you exactly what you're going to get. And then it says, follow our comprehensive advice to make smart investments and unlock substantial ROI from your new website this year. So it's problem, agitate, solution, and then we're into the content. And then again, this is no human editing. This is exactly using those prompts, how it comes out of the AI, the other side. So we've got understanding the return on investment, and this is the definition and the formula for calculating and the impact and essentially this then becomes the piece of content. So it's a 4,000. It's a mega guide, a 4,700 word piece of content on everything you need to know about measuring the ROI of a new website for local businesses. Now, typically back when I ran the old agency, a piece of content like this, which is 4,500 words long, would take one of our content writers 2 to 3 days to pull together. Using AI and using these prompts, this took me roughly around 20 minutes to create the outline and this piece of content. So it's not one click button done, but it's very much an efficiency. So typically you can, based on how much output our last content team could produce, one writer using AI can replace the job of 7 to 8 old in-house content writers. So what I'm now working with other agency owners to do essentially is to transition their current team of content writers more into editors and proofreaders, because it doesn't make sense anymore for them to sit there and do all this research. What it does make sense for them to do is look at this content, judge, is it a good piece of content? Is it factually correct? Because I'll come on to that in a second. Is there anything we can add that makes it stand out? Or do we have any infographics or any kind of imagery that we can put in there? Does it adhere to the tone of voice that we wanted it to output? So really what I think we will see, and it's a bold prediction, I think especially on the lower end of content production, especially blog style content, we already see, and we'll continue to see a big shift away from human written content to AI written content edited potentially by those same people that used to be the writers. So yeah, now that you've got, so this is post creating the content with AI. These are a couple of things that I think you should be doing. So I'm a big advocate of AI, but I'm also a big advocate of AI plus then an element of human interaction afterwards. You should still proofread the content. AI is great, but it's not perfect. You definitely need to be fact checking the content, because AI hallucinations are very real and they sound very convincing that it knows exactly what it's talking about, but it's actually made up or not true. You should be adding your own unique tone of voice and style to the content post-production, adding any internal links to other posts and back to this piece of content, adding unique images. And yes, you can use AI for this too. I use AI with DALL-E and Midjourney to create unique images that go with the content now. I think even though it's created by AI, it's still better than standard stock images these days, because stock images, I think Google can understand that it's a stock image. Maybe they can understand that it's an AI generated image, but I'm not sure, because I mean, there's talk of Microsoft watermarking their images now, but other tools are currently not doing that. So whether it's detectable or not, I'm not sure. And then this is a big one. So creating content with AI is great, but really you're not adding any new information. There's no value gain in that. Essentially, it's all the information that's out there, it's been trained on. It doesn't know anything that's not on the internet. You should be adding EEAT, expertise, authority, trust, and experience via different signals. And that's getting a real expert to look at the content and maybe add their own unique insights or things which are not available on the internet or very hard to come by, or personal experiences to add that level of EAT. You should 100% be using real personas these days. You shouldn't be using kind of fake personas. And you should be building links from reputable websites back to this content. It's not good enough that you just create a piece of content, publish it, and off it goes. It works, but you're not going to see major results just by doing that. So these are the things that I think you should be doing once you've created the content. And then I'm just going to finish on 2 advanced techniques. I don't have time to go into all, exactly how these work, but definitely go away and have a look at them. The first one is called self-iteration loops. And essentially you give ChatGPT a list of criteria and a scoring system and a method for understanding what the desired output should be, and then tell it to self-iterate in a loop. If you know much about programming, you know kind of a loop. It will keep going round and round in circles till it really reaches a desired outcome, until in this case it reaches a certain score. So what does that mean in real terms? A lot of jargon there. Give ChatGPT a link to the Google helpful content guidelines. That's the PDF potentially, or the URL. Tell it to read and understand the different criteria required to ensure the content is helpful as per Google's guidelines. and then self-evaluate and self-reiterate the content outline until it covers at least 90% of the requirements. And what that will do is it'll create an outline, it'll go and look at the helpful content guidelines, and it'll say, oh, XYZs do need to be included. I'll go back and I'll update the content. I'll reevaluate. Does it hit 90%? No. What am I missing? What else can I add to this outline that makes it so it covers at least 90% of the requirements? And if you think outside of the box, almost every task you can use some kind of self-iteration loop for, whether that's improving content once it's been created, whether that's improving outlines, whether that's, there's almost endless tasks that you can use these self-iteration loops if you just think, oh, what can I measure this against, and how can I let the AI know that there's a scoring system for this, and what does good look like? That's the key to this. You've got to give it a way to know what good looks like and a way to measure itself. And then the second advanced technique is unique tone of voice. So we all know out of the box, content from AI tools can sound a little bit robotic and lifeless, but you can actually train them to understand and replicate yours or your business's or your client's unique tone of voice, language structure, and even the specific terminology that they use. To do that, you gather a big comprehensive set of materials. I say big, it doesn't have to be big, the more the better. And that could be blog posts that you've already written that are in your style. That could be an About Us page or a team page where it talks about your background and your experience and that kind of stuff. Social media posts you've written because it's in your style and your language. And even YouTube videos where you are speaking, because you can then get the transcript and that text then becomes a resource to train the AI with. And then once you have that, you feed it to ChatGPT and say, in this style and guidelines, create the content. And I did this recently for a customer. They started a new website. They had a very healthy YouTube channel, but no content on the website, on the blog section. We took 20 of their YouTube videos. We downloaded the transcripts, used that tone of voice. And when I sent it over to him, he's like, wow, how did you do this? This is literally exactly how I would write. So it's very powerful. And that just takes away the that roboticness and lifelessness that you would typically find with AI content. And that's it. If you've got any questions, fire them off, and you can contact me on the email below if you've got anything after this.
Adam, amazing. I'm just like, I messaged this out to everybody. If you put that thank you back up if we can, just want to make sure folks get your email if possible. I think that was maybe on our end, but we'll put your email in chat on that. But dude, thank you. I'm seeing lots of love in emojis. I'm seeing you're getting the Wayne's World worshiping, dude. Like you're getting lots and lots of kudos. This presentation was off the charts. I put in chat earlier, if your team members were available, if you're a company that has a team and you've been trying to get them to learn AI, like this is the talk or one of the talks that they should definitely watch. So you definitely delivered. A couple of folks asked if you could share that document template as an example. I know it's internal docs that you use with your team, but if you don't mind sharing that link in chat, that would be amazing. Or with our team, we'll tag it with your presentation. We probably have, I'm not sure we actually have time for Q&A. I was getting lots of notes from the team. I know people probably have lots of questions for you. If it's cool with you, can they just contact you and reach out? I don't think we have any more time on the main stage. And you will be participating in our AI showcase workshop here in just a few moments. So yeah, we'll have you back on stage here just momentarily. Overall, Adam, what was your experience with the Prepathon this year?
It's been great. Yeah, very well organized. Shout out to the team. They've been very on it, making sure that we're fully prepared. So yeah, it's been great. And the other presentations have been awesome too. It's been great to watch.
Amazing. So, and also our next activity, and Adam, I think, is going to be participating, is our AI Innovation Showdown. This is a group activity, and this is another opportunity for you to win a $50 gift voucher. So we're going to be putting your AI skills to the test, and you're going to be getting some challenges here to leverage AI with Adam and running our workshop here. And also, if you have a moment, we're going to be posting a survey to, let's see here. We're going to post a survey to our Engage channel, the chat, and would love to hear your feedback on Adam's session. So use that QR code, click the link in chat, give us feedback on Adam's session. It was, from my perspective, off the chart, 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10 we'll be sharing this with my whole team. So thank you again, Adam. Lots of love for you. and the amazing work you're doing with AI. And also congrats on the business pivot, man. Just like, I know entrepreneur to entrepreneur, man, like, wow. What an impact. So thanks again, folks, for participating in our Prepathon. We'll be right back with our AI Innovation Showdown. So stay tuned.